A closer look. Use undo, redo, and the undo history panel. When you're working on your own artwork, you will sometimes need to make decisions about undoing or redoing work that you've created. The undo and redo commands let you navigate through the actions you've taken in an Inkscape session and reverse them if you want. If you make a change that you don't like, you can undo it and try again. For instance, if you draw a line in an illustration that you don't like, use the undo command to erase it. If you decide that the line was not so bad, use the redo command to bring it back. If you've made many changes that you don't like, use undo history to get back to an earlier point in your drawing. You'll learn how to use undo and redo commands in your Inkscape projects. So when I'm looking at my Inkscape, remember my commands are over on the right, and this is my undo and this is my redo. I also have a save button over here, so I can just quickly keep saving by just clicking right there, which is pretty convenient. You also can just click edit, undo, and that is the Control Z command. Okay, in Inkscape, redo is Shift Control Z. I know that sometimes we get used to Control Y, and other programs will undo, but it's Shift Control Z in Inkscape. So if we go back and do something with that pencil tool, like let's say I'm gonna just make some cute little eyes. So here's my eyes, right? And I'm gonna make a smiley face with my pencil tool, and whoop, there it is. That looks pretty good. I'm going to take my stroke and I'm going to increase the width of my stroke, okay? So here's my little smiley face. Let's say I want to make a circle around it. Do you remember you hold down control, and that'll make a real circle. So I'm going to change that to yellow, and I need to send it to the back. So I'm going to go to Object, Lower to Bottom. Okay, look at my cute little smiley face. I love it. So yeah, under that object menu, you notice that you can do raise and lower objects. You can rotate them, you can flip them, you can group them. That means if I decide I want to put my eyes in my mouth and my little face all together, I can grab this select and transform tool, drag it over everything. Notice now everything is selected that I drew all the way around, and I can go object, group. Now this is all one object, and when I move it around, it moves the whole thing. And I can click again to get the rotate bars. Cute. Can I still select my lips and my eyes separately? No. What will I have to do? I'll have to go object, ungroup. I can ungroup now, and now if I want to, I can, whoops, click off of it first, but I can just select one thing, and gosh, I think you need some pupils. What do you think? So I'm going to grab a couple more circles, and I'm going to draw a little circle in there for pupil, and if I hold down control, it'll make a real circle instead of an ellipse or an oval, and I'm going to make it a black circle, so I'm going to grab my little palette slider, I'm going to come over here and just make that black. And if I want to make another one, I can just grab this select and transform tool and go Control C for copy, Control V for paste, just like I can in any other program. Yep, there we go. You also have edit, copy, paste, and cut commands under your edit menu, just like you do in other places, other programs. So boy, my little character's looking so cute. I can't stand it. But let's say I go, you know, I'm not really crazy about something and I want to figure it out. So that's where your history could come into place. Let's see. Where is it? Edit, undo, history. So if I click on the undo history, notice I get this box, and if you look for those double lines, sometimes I'm going to have to just iconify this fill and stroke box and move it over to the side. I can iconify my layers box too. Should be able to drag that down now that I've got those over here on the side out of my way. I can see the whole history of everything that I've done since I've opened up this document, right? And I can actually go back. So if I click on this, this brings me back to where I was back then. I can go anywhere along my history that I want to and start from there. Okay, so that's a pretty cool feature, wouldn't you say? Yeah, that's really cool. Okay, just gonna show you a little bit of an example. So here, you know, these polygons and star tools. So you can draw stars, and you can change the number of corners that you have on your star. So let's say you want a 10 corner star and go like that, right? Well, black was the last thing. Remember, did the pupils black? So I can change that star. I can make that any pretty color that I want, and I wouldn't necessarily call that pretty, but yeah, I can make it something that meshes a little better with my current design. Okay, I'll go with that. So you can change the number of stars up here, just doing like that. Look at that, a 3-cornered star. That's a triangle. Okay, now what happens if I select polygon instead? I've got 6 sides. What do you predict? What is a 6-sided polygon? That's right, it's a hexagon. What's an 8-sided polygon? It's an octagon. It's a stop sign. I can make a stop sign. All I have to do is turn it red. Do I have a stroke? Let's see. Let's grab, I'm going to iconify that undo history, and I'm going to pull up my fill and stroke. I don't have a stroke. Notice the X is selected, so I'm going to click on stroke, and yeah, I'll go with that white one. I'm going to make it a little thinner, and I'm also going to, let's see, I think I'm going to make this octagon white, so I'm going to go ahead and click that, and then I'm going to make another octagon right inside of it. So I'll grab my select and transform tool and move it over, and I need to enlarge it just a smidgy. If I hold down, I'm going to hit Control Z. If I hold down Control and I move it, it's going to control it so that it is the perfect proportions. I might have to click one time to get the rotate handles. Okay, and so I can rotate a little bit. And I'm going to get rid of the stroke by holding down Shift and clicking that X. And I'm going to turn it red. There, that's what I was looking for, friends. So now I've got that red octagon on top of the white octagon with the black outlines, so that it kind of is looking more like a stop sign. I'm going to group these two things together by just grabbing my select and transform tool and drawing all the way around it so they're all selected, and I am going to go object group. Okay, I'm going to click on that, and I'm just going to rotate it so that it's horizontal. Then I'm going to move it over here, and it might not be perfectly you know, horizontal, unfortunately, but it's pretty darn close. And then I can grab my text tool, and I just am going to click one time. I'm not going to be, I'll do my text up here so there's nothing in the background. Click once, and then go ahead and type stop or whatever it is you want to do. Okay. Now that I've got that, I can double click on it, and it will select the whole thing, and I can change the size. So I can go up to like a size 64 so I can see it better. And I can change the font so that it is, I mean, it's a pretty good font as it is. House symbol. Oh no, that's definitely not a good one. Yeah, I'm trying to think of like the font of an actual stop sign. Okay, I'm going to go with the Verdana, and I need to change that to white, but I'm going to wait, and I'm going to grab my select tool, and I'm going to move it over here on top of the stop sign. And now here's the cool feature about Inkscape is that I can resize this text. So I just, I'm going to hold Control so that it stays the same proportion, and I'm just going to grab the corner. I'm going to size it up, and then I can just click and drag and move it over. So it says stop, and I want it white. So I'm just going to click on white down here on my palette, and boom, there's my stop sign. Wow. What if I wanted to make a handle? What shape would I do? Can I go ahead and select, whoops, wrong thing. There's a perfect time when you hit Control Z to put that back. I want to group this whole stop sign together. So I'm going to select it all and hit object, group. Okay, now I can move my stop sign. And you know what? I think I need to group my little guy back together. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to grab him. I'm going to object group him. He's so cute. I'm going to hold down control so that when I rescale him, he stays the same proportions. And you know what? I'm going to give him this little stop sign that he's holding up because he's going to be the patrol safety man. So here's where my pencil might come into play. Maybe I just want to use my pencil and freehand draw this cute little guy's hand over here. And now I might have a little too much smoothness going on. I might need to decrease my smoothness just a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that by clicking transform and select and then hitting my delete key. And I learned that I can draw straight lines with a pencil by just clicking and moving my, moving my pointer where I want it and then clicking again. And now I have that line and I can increase the stroke of that line. And then I can make another one that starts right here, click, and then bring it up here. Okay, and there's the other part of his arm. And I need like his little I need the like a little handle for his stop sign. So I'm gonna go ahead and just create a little line right here. And I don't know why that one didn't turn out really big. I'm gonna hit Control Z. Let's try it again. Okay. Huh, weird. Went back to the other size. I'm gonna make it really thick so it's like a handle. And then I'm gonna change it to the color of wood. So I'm just gonna click something down here. But I'm running out of RAM. That's what's happening. So click save. Okay, now I can come down here. Oh, I have to select and transform first. Yep, gotta make sure it's selected. Okay, now I can create. Wow. Hold on, I'm ramming out. It's not liking me right now. It's saying just say no to changing the color. Hi, I just figured out what the problem is. You know what my problem is? Well, apparently I've got this huge stroke on there. Okay, it's like 10 wide, so that's all I can see is the stroke. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to get rid of the stroke. Okay, so now I don't have a stroke. But it's a line. A line is a stroke, so I actually need a stroke. So what I need to do then is, since this is a pencil drawing, I need to hold down shift. Hold down shift and click. There we go. All right, pick the color of a handle of wood. That works right there. Whew. So yeah, that, even I get confused sometimes, not realizing I'm dealing with a stroke here. This is a stroke because I used the pencil. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that, and like we had done before, I'm going to go object and I'm going to lower that so it's underneath. But you know what? I think I'm going to lower it to the bottom so that it's under the sign. That's my goal. There. Now it's underneath the sign. Perfect. And this hand actually should probably be behind it a little bit. So I need to put that's got to go all the way to the bottom. So that's going to go object, lower to the bottom. So now it's behind there, and I need some little fingers. I need a little hand. So here's what I'm going to do. I am going to grab my little pencil and I'm going to draw a little hand. The little fingers. So how would that go? No, that wouldn't be it. So I'm going to hit Control Z. Okay. So I'm going to have a thumb that comes around here. And if I close it, you see that red? That makes it so that it's a full shape, and I think I can fill it. So I'm going to fill it with black. Yep, it worked. And now I can take this, so that was my thumb, and these would be my No, that's got to go behind. Control Z. Sorry. Trying to figure out how this works. So here's one. There's little finger. And there's a little finger. I'm just filling it with black. And there's a little finger. Hey, that doesn't look too bad. And there's a little finger. Hey, hey, hey. Actually looks like he's holding a stop sign. I'm so impressed with myself right now. Oh my goodness. Okay, that looks so good. So I can group all those fingers together. And if one of them doesn't select, just hold down Shift and click the one that you want to add to the selection. And I'm going to go Object, Group. So now that hand is all together. I can adjust that and move that a little bit further down if I want to, but maybe I liked it where it was. Okay, pretty cool. I love it. So there we go. These are just some basic ways that you can have some fun and create things with shapes and that pencil tool. Good times. Okay, so let's say I want to have a background color. I need to put all this stuff on a different layer. So something you don't probably know about is layers. So I'm going to go to Layer, up in the menu, and click Layers. And that will bring my layers up front. They're actually over here to the side. I'd kind of hid them, so I'm going to have to grab them. And I want to get rid of this fill and stroke for a second, so I can just focus on my layers. You have an add and take away layers. And so let's see, you have an eye that makes your layer visible or invisible. So right now I do have a layer. This is like my, and I can double click and name it little guy and stop sign. And then hit enter to save the name. If you don't hit enter, it won't. So let's say I want to create a new layer, and I'm going to call this my background layer. Okay, and I don't want the background on top of the little guy, because then, you know, it's going to be a top-down thing. So let's say here's my, I've got to click on the layer you're working in, and if you want to make sure you don't accidentally mess up the layer you're not working in, you can lock it. That's a little lock right there. So I'm going to click on the layer I'm working in. It's unlocked. It's visible. And I'm going to use the square rectangle tool, and I'm just going to draw this shape around the background. And one of the things that I first notice is I definitely don't want that border. So I'm going over here to my fill and stroke, and I am going to get rid of the stroke by just clicking the X. Okay, so now I don't have a stroke. I'm going to go ahead and hide that back over there. Now, remember how I was saying I won't be able to see what's underneath? Okay, so I need to click on that layer, and then I can use this arrow and lower it down. Ta-da! Now I can see. But do I really want the background to be black? No. So I'm going to grab my Select and Transform tool, and now that it's selected, I can change the color to whatever I want. So what color background do I want to have? You can play around. You can click on these and see what meshes with your color scheme. Ooh, I kind of like that one. I don't even know where it was. That looks about right. I really like that. Well, let's say I want to do a gradient for my background. So go ahead and grab that fill and stroke again. Okay, make sure you have that rectangle selected, and go into your fill and change it to a gradient. Or you have a radial gradient, okay? And I'm not sure, doesn't really give you any options. It doesn't seem like to adjust the gradient. It's kind of like you're just stuck with whatever they give you. Oh, that one's cool. Did you see that one? That's really wild. I love it. And you can click on that drop down arrow, and it has like different, ooh, that's some fun contrast. So there's different things you can play around with. I'm not sure what this does. Okay, so yeah, you can play around and have a lot of fun. Oh, there's some sand. Lots of great things. So, oh, so have some fun in here. Okay, old paint. Wow. Camouflage. Oh, that's a little odd. It's because it's checkered. Oh. Yeah, I don't see a drop down box for that one. But this one, boy, you can have some real fun. So I'm not sure. Oh, packed circles looks cool. Oh, that's so fun. Polka dots, small white. Not seeing anything, probably because it's on a white background. But where was I? Wavy? I'm going to go with the wavy. Okay. So remember what I said, that you have to put everything on your canvas. Maybe I never said it, but please make sure it's all on your canvas. So I realize I'm falling off the page here. So I'm going to go ahead, and I don't need my fill and stroke box anymore. So I'm just going to move that over to the side. And I'm going to lock my background layer because I'm really pleased with that. And I'm going to click on my little guy and stop sign layer. And I need to unlock it so that I can actually make some changes to it. So remember, if things aren't working, maybe you accidentally locked your layer. Or maybe you're in the wrong layer. Maybe you're in the background layer and you're trying to do stuff to the little guy in the stop sign layer. So you need to click on it to make it active. I'm going to grab my select and transform tool, and I'm going to grab all of this. It's all selected together, and I'm going to object group it all together. Okay, now it's all one object. I can ungroup it if I want to make changes to individual things later. I'm going to hold down Control so that I don't make it skewed and out of proportion, and I'm just going to resize it a little bit so it fits on the canvas, and then I can move it wherever I want it. So there it is, ladies and gentlemen. Wow. That is so fun. Did you click save? You better make sure that you're saving your work. Freehand drawing is drawing by hand without mechanical aids like rulers or other guides. Sketching is a form of freehand drawing. In digital art, freehand drawing can be done with a mouse, but it's not the easiest method. When you use a stylus with a graphics tablet or touchscreen, you have more control over small details. It's more like drawing with a pencil. Drawing with a mouse gives you less control and may feel more awkward. If you're drawing freehand with a mouse, don't be discouraged by how it turns out. Drawing freehand with a mouse is difficult for everyone. You'll use the pencil tool to draw some freehand lines. So a fun way that you could use the pencil tool in this drawing, for example, would be like, say, to put a crown on him. That was something that we had in our lesson this week in class. And because of the fact that I have that smoothing tool available, it might not turn out that great. I might have to decrease smoothness a little bit, but I did draw a crown and I am not able to see it very well. So I'm going to go ahead and fill it in with a nice gold color, and I'm going to grab my fill and stroke panel, and I'm going to go into the stroke style and increase the outline of my crown so it looks a little bit more like it did in that video that we saw of Jean-Michel Basquiat. Yes, so there, I added the crown. Might want to go with a different color, yellow, since I've got this whole interesting color scheme going on. You know, that's the thing, is you want to create unity. You want to make sure that all of your colors are meshing. And I'm not convinced this bright orange color is meshing really well with my limeade kind of thing I have going over here. So I might just go ahead. I can click on the color of his crown, and so it matches on here. And then in fill and stroke, I can go to my fill, and then remember I've got the color wheel that I can just gently revolve around a little bit, and I can move the part that's in the middle. Well, I have to click save because my RAM is gone. But I can, ooh, there we go. I can grab this and move it around inside here and get the precise color that I'm looking for that gives a hint of yellow but still kind of is meshing with my lime color scheme. I will just quickly teach you how to use the pen tool. Why not? So the pen tool is a little bit different, but what it does is allows you to go, I'm just basically going to click points that I want to connect lines with. Okay, so I'm going to start here and I'm going to go, and you know what, actually it'd be a good idea to click over in your layers and add a new layer and call that pen tool work. So it's on its own layer. It's up at the top. And I'm going to lock my other layer, and maybe I'll get rid of the background for a minute because it's a little distracting. And I'm just going to go click, 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 click. And then I'm going to close out the circle. When you see that red, then just click, or you can hit enter to close it off. Okay. So cool. Now I've got this little shape that I've created and I can fill that in. So let's see, what color am I going to make his body? Pick a color. It's not that hard. All right. I will just go with black just to keep it kind of, well, maybe I want to do the same color as his cute little face. So I'm going to go over here and grab that green color that I have for his face. And then I want to do the stroke black. So I'm going to hold down shift and click black for the stroke. And it looks like down here and up here it's saying that I already have that stroke. So I'm going to come over to stroke style and increase the size of it since I can't see it. And I want you guys to be able to kind of see what I'm doing. So now that I have that, I'm going to show you how to use the Edit Paths by Nodes tool, which you can use with that pen. And this is where it gets really fun. So I'm going to click on the Edit Paths by Nodes, and you'll notice that it creates these nodes. And then look at this cool little pointer feature I have here. I can grab the nodes and I can move them. Okay, that's fun. But the cool part about Inkscape, and it's not like this in other programs like Illustrator, is I can just grab that curve and move that curve. There are little handles and you can play around with what these handles do. Okay, and I can click on here to get the handles for this one down here. There should be another handle coming out there, but there isn't. So if I grab this and move it, then it, boom, and now that handle's popped out. I can give this guy some hips. Alrighty. And here we go. So you just play around with what those things do. Alright, maybe those are his little legs. I'll bring this one down here, and I can wrap that down so it takes the shape of his face, and bring this up and around. So it looks like his arm is actually coming out of his shoulder and not out of his head. And then this one right here, grab. So I'm telling you, there is just so much fun to be had with this program. It's amazing. So there's his little body that I created with the Bezier tool. It's also called the pen tool. On here, oh, nope, that's calligraphy. Draw Bezier curves and straight lines. Okay, so perfect. Did you love that? I loved it. So when I'm done, I'm just going to click on my transform and select tool, and I can click off of it. Okay, if I want his little face to have a circle around it, guess what? I'd have to ungroup that layer. I'd have to go back. I'm going to lock up my pen work. I'd have to go back to my little guy and stop sign layer and click. It's locked. Unlock it. Click on it, and then I'd have to go object, ungroup. And then I'd have to click outside of that and click on the face, and I'd have to go object, ungroup. Click off of that and then click on just the circle, and then I could add the stroke by coming to stroke and clicking there. And now his face has a stroke on it too. I'm going to go ahead and go to my pen tool layer and click. Sorry, I locked it. So that's the danger of locking things, is you go to move them around or select them and you can't. I'm going to drag that up maybe, woo. There's this little edge here that I'm not liking. So I'm going to grab my nodes tool and I'm going to try and smooth out that node. And you can smooth out nodes if those nodes are like totally perpendicular to each other, or what am I trying to say? They make a straight line. Then notice if I click off of it, then it doesn't have that little notch there anymore. So I can just grab that and move it up a little bit. That's cute. Save. Don't forget to save. The select tool. When you work with objects in Inkscape, you might want to change or manipulate them. For example, you might want to move, resize, rotate, or even delete part of a drawing. To change part of a drawing in this way, you'll use the Select and Transform tool. When using the Select tool, you can select a single object in a drawing, or you can select more than one object to manipulate them all at once. When you first select an object, a square selection box displays around it. The selection box marks the selected part of the drawing. Double-headed resize arrows display at the sides and corners of a selection box. You drag a resize arrow in to make the selection area smaller or out to make it larger. Remember to hold down Control so that it doesn't skew your drawing. You'll practice selecting and manipulating parts of the drawing next. So what I mean by hold down Control is, notice if I click on that, if I grab this, I can skew it. So if I don't want it skewed, when I'm trying to transform it, I have to hold down Control so that it will move the whole thing in proportion. Does that make sense? So hopefully at this point you understand that all you have to do is grab your transform and select tool, and you can just click and drag and move. And this little four-cornered thing that you see by my cursor, that is the symbol for move. Okay, so you know you're moving. And then these are the resize handles. And you can skew your object all you want. If you accidentally skew it and regret it, hit Control Z. Control Z to undo, and then hold down Control so that you can control the shape of your object. Then if you want to rotate something like the crown, all you have to do is click on it one more time and you get the rotate handles. And then that makes it so that you can rotate it and change its orientation. Also up here you have things like rotate 90 degrees that way, or that was actually a flip, or that flip. Okay, so you can manipulate things up here too. You also can hand enter things. You also have, when scaling objects, scale the stroke width by the same proportion. When scaling rectangles, scale the radii of rounded corners. So there's other options that you can play around with there too. So selecting multiple objects, like I said, if you just have your select and transform tool, you can select the whole entire thing. And if you group it all together, like object group, then you can click on the whole thing twice and you get rotate handles. So technically you could do that. You can hit Control Z to undo that. I could flip that. Now the letters are backwards. Funny how flipping it makes such a huge difference in whether the mind can feel comfortable with it or it completely just feels off. It's unbalanced. It's unnerving. It's creating tension. But thank you for putting it back the right way. Okay, so remember, you can object ungroup what you did. And let's say that I just want to move the stop sign and the handle. So if I click on the stop sign and have that selected, I can hit Shift and individually select more objects to add to that. And I can object group the stop sign and handle together now, so that if I click on that, I can move that whole thing around. That's kind of funny because it looks like it's moving right inside of his hand. I can also rotate it if I click one more time and get my rotate handles. So yeah, maybe that's fun to just rotate it a bit. Okay. Unfortunately, you can't just erase things. Like, I know there's an eraser tool, but when I go to erase, yeah, that's not what was my intention, right? But that's what the erase tool will do. So that's kind of cool. I'm going to hit Control Z. Control Z. Okay, and maybe I just do want to put a cute little zigzag in my dude's shirt. Bam, it's like Charlie Brown. Okay, so to erase something is really just to delete it. So I can delete the whole crown. Okay, but I really can't delete parts of it. Man, what happens if I have the eraser tool and I do control click? Nothing. Looks like if I'm going to do the eraser tool, I kind of have to actually draw a shape. But that's fun. It kind of created some gems on my crown. So you can play around with the erase tool and see what you like about it. So what's happening with my erase tool? It's using a black outline and it's using a pretty thick stroke. So if I grab this selection tool, can I select those little things? I'd have to, like, if I decrease the stroke, oh, it's decreasing the stroke of all of it. So, hey, it's kind of cool. Yeah, you can have fun with that. I like it, sort of. So if you're not liking it, this would be a great time to go to Edit, Undo History, and it's around here somewhere. I'm going to hide these, and my Undo History is over here. I'm going to click on that. So look at all these strokes that I set. Let's go back. And for whatever reason, it's not wanting to take back my strokes for some reason. So I could just go ahead and I'm going to hit delete. Oh, it won't let me. Okay, I'm just going to go back to this point right here. Okay, so I'm going to go to there, and I think I'll grab my eraser tool because I did like my cute little zigzag Charlie Brown thing that I did on his shirt. I thought that was fun. So I'll leave that, and the stuff that I did on his crown, I don't want. So that's how Undo History can be really helpful. Instead of having to hit undo about 20 times, you can just go back and click where you want to be. Okay, so I think I'm pretty much ready to call this a day. I'm gonna click on my layers because I want to be able to see my background. So I'm gonna click on that background, and how fun is that? You can see all those little waves going through his shirt, and maybe that would be a fun feature to have that going through his crown. Let me see. It's okay. I'm gonna hit Control Z. I'm not as crazy about that. Maybe if I just did like a thick line like that. Yeah, not liking it. You don't have to like everything. It's okay. So remember, like if you do the spiral tool, you've got spirals. You want to be able to see them. Okay, fill and stroke. Yeah, make that spiral visible. Okay, and then once again with the spiral tool, you've got little. And let me make it so that my background is hidden again. You've got these little handles that you can grab, and I can actually pull this out and wind it back in. I can grab this one and wind that around and make a bigger spiral. Okay, and I do have the ability to decrease the stroke on that so that it's not so in your face as it was. I can increase the number of turns here manually. Divergence. If I increase divergence, it increases the distance between the spiral lines. And if I decrease the divergence, whoa, it almost disappeared. Okay, so you do have some other things that you can play around with there. Okay, and then you also have the inner radius, okay, that you can play around with there. This right here is to reset your shape parameter default. So if you're like, I don't like what's happening every time I go to draw a new one, just hit reset and it'll take you back to the initial settings. If I want to delete that, I just have to click my select and transform tool and hit delete. So remember, when you're trying to erase things, really what you're doing is deleting them. Okay, so that's the spiral. You can also fill in the spiral. So right now it doesn't have a fill. You can see down here where it says fill, there's none, and up here it says fill none. So I can go in and put a solid fill if I want to, and that's a little quirky, but you can do it if that's what you want to do. You're more than welcome. Let's see what happens when these get moved. So you can make some interesting effects. Okay, fun times. That spiral, and then you have the star tool, which has some really fun features. So I'm just going to click on transform and delete that and grab the star tool. So I'm over here on my star. I'm going to draw a star. Okay, and what I want to show you is just you have this little node here in the middle, so you can make some different interesting star shapes. You also can grab this one on the outside and do some different things there. And then the other thing with star, if you hold down shift, notice I start getting blobby corners when I move around that outer node. I'm going to try holding down shift on the inside, and oh boy, it's getting really, really 70s now. Okay, if you don't like something, hit Control Z. Okay, what happens if I hold down Control? I'm going to hold down Control and grab the outer one, and it's just kind of maintaining the outer edges, but letting me just expand my blob a little bit, which is fun. If I hold down Control on the inside one, similar, it's kind of holding down, controlling that feature while I change the size. Let's do Alt. What happens if I hold down Alt? Oh, Alt is the best. It's like, do you want some Kandinsky? Do you want some Picasso, some Cubism, something wild and funky, some abstract, bizarre shape? Then hold down Alt. I'm going to try the outer one. Okay, so Alt is a really fun feature as well. So the star is a really fun tool if you just take a little bit of time to see what it's all about. And I'm just gonna I'm gonna lower this guy. Okay, so he's behind there. And now I'm going to grab my layers and make my background visible. There, I have a little bit of abstract art in my background. Wow. I hope you guys had as much fun learning how to use the tools as I did. So something really important that I need to show you, all right? Any of the layers that you have visible that you can actually see that you haven't hidden, that is what you want to export, okay? So you might have a layer on there that you created and you don't want that to be a part of your final image. Like, let's say I didn't want my background. Then you could just hide it while you're exporting. So make sure when you're finally done that you click Save. And make sure that the name that you gave it has your first and last name at the beginning. And I'm going to call this my file save as week 2 make a message. So I did make a message. It says stop, and it's got my first and last name. And what am I stopping? I'm like a little safety patrol dude. There's some abstract on the sidewalk. Be careful. Don't step on that. You might slip and fall. Okay, so I made a little silly little message, all right? It's up for interpretation. I mean, the thing is that the audience can view this and interpret this a number of ways. So that's what makes good art, right? And so if you want them to be able to see it, though, you have to export it, because right now it's just an Inkscape file. Like, if I open this, it's going to have to be an Inkscape. So File, Export Ping Image. So remember from our text, a ping is an image that you would normally use in like digital arts like this, where you don't have a lot of colors. It's not like a photograph that has like a million colors, right? All these fine-tuned little pixels, all of different color tones. No, we just have some basic solid colors, and that's what pings are really good at. Pings are good for, what am I trying to say? Like logos. Pinks are good for logos, and they're also good if you have a transparency and you want to be able to see a different color in the background, which we can here. You could actually make this transparent in the background if you wanted to, just by hiding this background color, and then whatever color is on the back of somebody's computer program where they're opening up this image, that's a color that would be in the background. So that could be a good thing or a bad thing, because usually you want to have control over what the viewer is seeing in the background of your artwork. So always create that background layer. Okay, so file, export, ping image, and what happens is the dialog box pops up over here, or the dock, and it's a little bit confusing. It's asking what the file name is and what you want to export it as. It's not actually exporting it here though. This is just asking you to name your export. So you're going to click export as, and I'm already in my digital arts folder, I can see here, but if you weren't, you'd find it. And do I want to export it as a ping? Well, I don't really have a choice. So yes, I'll take that, and it's named properly with my first and last name, and I'm going to click save. Okay. Now I didn't export it. All right. I just told it how I want to save it. I haven't exported. All right. I like to say close when the export is complete. Then you shall know that you've exported it. If this box is still here, you haven't exported it. Okay. So click close when you've completed your export. And then this little button right here, this is the export button. Okay. So now I'm going to click export. Up, and the export dialog box disappeared. That is how I know I have successfully exported it. Well, I can also check by going into my File Explorer. So I'm going to go File Explorer. I'm going to go into my pictures. I'm going to find my digital arts sample folder, and lo and behold, look at that. I've got my Inkscape file, Rachel Girot Week 2 Make a Message. And if your Inkscape files look like an Internet Explorer browser or any kind of browser file, then you need to go back to Unit 1 and watch and follow the video that I made for that week, because I'm going to teach you how to turn these into Inkscape files, okay? Here is my ping. I know this is my ping because I can actually see the cute little picture that I made. All right, this is the one that you're going to publish on social media or any platform where you want people to see your work. This one right here is the one you're going to turn into your teacher, because you want your teacher to be able to open up your Inkscape file and see your layers and see all your shapes and how you made them. This is your work, okay? And you can go back in and you can edit that later on. So you have to have both. All right, so the first time you save, when you're all done, boom, you are making that, you're making that Inkscape file. That's what save does. Save makes the Inkscape file. Export makes the ping. Okay, so you want to have both, and you want to submit both to your teacher. Okay, so you're going to submit those to the Dropbox, and do not zip. Remember, I repeat, we do not zip items in this class. All right, thank you. Now remember, the objectives of this week's class were to illustrate the artist's intention, right? You always want to have the intention of creating a message for your viewer. So remember, given the challenge of creating a cover of a book, CD, or other kind of marketing material like a poster or an album cover or a billboard sign, it could be anything that connects with your passion. It could be anything. I will intentionally create a message to my audience, okay? Maybe the first time around your message doesn't turn out exactly the way that you wanted it to. That's okay. Demonstrate to me that you know how to use all the tools. Show me that you've used the pencil tool. Show me that you've used the polygon and the star and the circle ellipse. Show me that you can use, the rectangle tool, that you can make a background, that you can do some layers. Show me that you know how to use the control tool to make a real circle, not just an ellipse. Okay, show me that you have watched this video, you've practiced, and in addition, you wound up with a really fun message that your viewer can play around with. Oh, I'm missing an arm. Oh my goodness, how can that be? Where's my little guy's arm? Oh man, I must have done my undo history and accidentally erased his arm, but easy enough, I could create a new one. But I want you guys just to have fun. Remember, be joyous. I hope you had fun making this. I can't wait to see it. Ciao.